Some moments never leave you, like a scar your mind can't stop tracing. For me, that scar was carved deep on the night of my brother's engagement. I didn't just attend the party that night. I became the scar nobody wanted to see. I remember the sting of the air conditioner brushing against my arms, so cold, so sharp, despite the room being packed wall to wall with family, friends, laughter. Clinking glasses, phone cameras clicking like 1,000 tiny knives, soft music looping in the background. But for me, it all felt distant, muffled, like I was underwater, watching my life from behind glass. I smoothed down the crease in my navy blue dress for the 10th time, long sleeves, nothing flashy, nothing loud, safe, invisible. Emma held my hand tight, my brave little 9-year-old, her eyes wide, bouncing with excitement every few seconds, tugging at me. Mama, look at the cake! Mama, the lights! Mama, it's so pretty! And beside her, little Lily, all sunshine and chaos, twirling in her tiny white dress, giggling like the world had never been cruel. I smiled, but my stomach was a knot. On stage stood Ethan, my younger brother, the golden boy, the pride of the Morgan family. Sharp, radiant, beaming in his tailored cream suit beside Vanessa Carter, his fiancée. Vanessa looked perfect. She always did. Her hair slicked back, her eyes cold and calculated, scanning the room like a queen sizing up her court. And when her gaze landed on me, something in her expression shifted, tightened, like she'd just spotted something unpleasant clinging to her shoe. Then it happened. Vanessa leaned in, whispered something to my mother. I couldn't hear it, but I didn't need to. I knew that look on my mother's face, that blank, practiced nod, the one she gave whenever she made a decision about me, without me. Seconds later, my mother turned, heels clicking against the marble floor, weaving through the crowd. No smile. She never smiled at me. Not anymore. She stopped inches away, leaning in, her voice soft, almost kind, which somehow made it worse. Haley, she said, stay away from the stage tonight, please. Vanessa doesn't want any bad luck near her today. Bad luck. That word pierced through me like ice. For a moment, I thought I misheard her. Surely this was a joke. Surely this wasn't happening. But her lips stayed in that flat, hard line. She meant every word. She's right, my mother added, barely blinking. You've always had unfortunate timing. Let's not ruin today. My throat went dry. Time slowed, as if the universe itself paused to see what I would do. Laughter continued around me, flashes of cameras, toasts being made, but I felt every eye turning. Some pretending not to hear, some pretending not to care, but they heard. They always heard. Why did it still hurt this much after all these years? Why did I still feel like the outsider in my own family? I should have been used to it by now, used to the blame whispered behind my back for my father's accident. Used to being the failure at family dinners, used to my miscarriages being treated like a curse. I glanced at Ethan. His eyes met mine, just for a second, then darted away. That flicker of guilt? It cut deeper than any insult ever could. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My tongue felt glued to the roof of my mouth. I just nodded slightly, stepped back, and squeezed Emma's hand a little tighter. Lily tugged at my dress, confused. Mama, why can't we go up there? Her voice was pure innocence. I crouched down, forcing my voice not to shake. Because sometimes, I whispered, people don't understand what's special. Emma tilted her head, her smart little mind working, narrowing her eyes at Vanessa, then back at me. And in that pause, in that quiet space, I should have known. My daughters? They weren't going to stay silent. Not tonight. Not anymore. There was a time, long, long ago, when I wasn't the unlucky one. There was a time when I was just Haley Morgan. A quiet girl with dreams too big for a world that only saw her scars. But somewhere along the way, people stopped seeing me. Or worse, they only saw what they wanted to see. It's strange how life teaches you where you belong in the most brutal ways. I was only 8 when my dad died. A car accident on a rainy night. Head-on collision. Gone before I ever got to say goodbye. I remember my mother's scream. I remember standing in the cold with my little brother Ethan clinging to me like I was the only solid thing left in the world. That was the first time I heard it, whispered behind my back. She's bad luck, always has been. My mother didn't correct them. And after that, it never really stopped. Her warmth toward me cooled. Her eyes grew distant. The kindness she reserved for Ethan never extended to me. But I didn't hate Ethan. He was just a boy, my little brother, my best friend once. But time changes everything. He grew into the center of the family, the pride, the protector. And me? I became the shadow. I married young, too young, mostly to escape the walls of a house that never felt like home. At first, my husband was kind, but after our second miscarriage, he changed. And after the third, he left. No shouting, no blame, just a text message. I can't do this anymore, I'm sorry. I stared at that screen until the light dimmed. Then, like a miracle I didn't dare hope for, Emma was born. Then Lily. My girls. The only parts of me untouched by bitterness. The doctors had told me I wouldn't carry to term, but Emma fought. Lily fought. They were everything I wasn't allowed to believe in. Of course, my mother's reaction was ice cold. I just hope they don't inherit your luck, she said flatly, barely holding them for longer than 5 seconds. I laughed it off like I always did, but it stung. It always did. And now, here we were, all these years later, under one roof again, for Ethan's engagement party. I told myself I'd stay quiet, smile, be polite, no drama. But the moment I stepped into that sparkling, perfect venue, I felt it. The distance, the stares, the way people greeted me with that syrupy voice they use when they feel sorry for you but don't know how to say it. Uncle Rayhan, my mother's older brother, was the only one who pulled me into a real hug. Haley, you look beautiful tonight, he said softly. And for a second, just a second, I almost believed him. But I stayed on the edges of the room, watching, listening, trying not to exist more than I had to. Emma kept tugging on my hand, begging me to let her explore. Mama, can I go near the cake just to look? I nodded. I watched my girls run ahead, Emma spinning in her blue dress, Lily skipping beside her, both of them full of light I could never manufacture on my own. And for a brief, foolish moment, I thought maybe this night would pass without pain. But I should have known better, because just an hour later, I stood frozen, my heart breaking, as my mother leaned close to me and delivered her verdict. Not even as a sister, not even as a guest. Stay away from the stage, Haley. Vanessa doesn't want any bad luck near her tonight. And in that second, something inside me cracked. Not loud, not public, just broke, quietly. The kind of break that doesn't scream, but aches deep. I didn't know it yet, but something else was shifting too. Not in me, in Emma, in Lily. And what happened next would silence an entire room. I should have left. I should have taken Emma and Lily, walked right out of that glittering lie of a ballroom, and spared myself the pain. But I didn't. Something rooted me to that floor. Maybe pride, maybe stubbornness, maybe the foolish hope that this was still my brother's big day. And I wanted to see him happy, even if I wasn't part of that happiness. Mama? Emma's voice broke through my thoughts. Why aren't we going closer like everyone else? I crouched down, heart heavy, because sometimes people don't understand what's special, I whispered. Emma frowned, confusion clouding her bright eyes. But it wasn't Emma I should have been worried about. It was Lily. Without warning, my little girl, barely 6, slipped her small hand out of mine. Before I could react, before I could stop her, she was already walking through the crowd, walking with her head high, her tiny dress swishing behind her. Straight toward the stage. My heart stopped. I reached out, Lily, wait. But my voice died in my throat. Everyone was watching now. Heads turned. Whispers spread like wildfire. Lily didn't care. She marched straight up to the stage, as if the world owed her mother an apology. As if her tiny voice could shatter years of silence. And when she reached the microphone, when she stood there, so impossibly small and impossibly brave, she looked out at all of them. At Vanessa, at Ethan, at my mother. And she said, in the clearest, strongest voice I had ever heard from her, "Can I say something about my mama?" The room froze. Breaths held. Vanessa's fake smile faltered. Ethan's eyes widened. And me? I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Because this moment was everything I never thought I'd see. My mama's not bad luck, Lily said. Steady. Unshaken. She's the best person I know. She loves me and Emma. She takes care of us. She tells us stories and sings to us when we're scared. She doesn't hurt people. She helps them. Someone gasped. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was everyone. Lily turned her big, honest eyes to Vanessa. And you were mean. You didn't say it nicely. You didn't even look sorry. Her words sliced through the air sharper than any adult could ever manage. And then, like only a child could, she dropped the final blow. You also said you didn't even like my Uncle Ethan. You just wanted to marry him because he's a good match. Gasps. Shock. Silence. Even the chandeliers seemed to dim. Vanessa's face turned pale. Ethan stared at Lily, then at me, like he was seeing us for the first time. And the truth? It was no longer mine alone to carry. My daughter had spoken. And no one, not even Vanessa, could silence her now. For a long second, maybe longer, no one moved. The entire ballroom, with all its gold and glitter, stood frozen. It wasn't just what Lily said, it was the way she said it. Like she wasn't afraid, like truth didn't belong to adults alone. Vanessa's face had drained of color. My mother looked like stone, her jaw clenched so tightly it could have shattered. And Ethan? Ethan was staring at Lily, at me, like the weight of everything he had ignored for years was crashing down all at once. Uncle Rayhan was the first to move. Bless that man. He stepped forward, clapped once, loud, clear, unapologetic, and then he walked toward Lily, bent down, and whispered something into her ear. Lily nodded, her little hand slipping into his. He turned to the crowd, his voice quiet but sharp as steel. Sometimes it takes a child to say what adults are too afraid to. The words landed like a stone dropped in still water. Ripples spread. Vanessa's voice snapped out, sharp, panicked. She's just a child, children exaggerate. But Uncle Rayhan didn't back down. Children speak truth, adults bury it. He turned to Ethan. Did she lie, Ethan? Ethan looked like he'd forgotten how to speak. But after a moment, his voice broke the silence. No, he whispered. Then louder. No, she didn't lie. Vanessa's breath hitched. You're making a mistake, she hissed. But Ethan shook his head, slower this time, firmer. No, I think I've been making mistakes for years. He took the engagement ring off his own finger, the one he was supposed to put on hers tonight, and set it gently on the edge of the stage. Gasps again. Shock rippled through the room. But Ethan, my little brother, the same boy I used to read bedtime stories to, he walked straight over to me. And without a word, without hesitation, he pulled me into a hug. Tight, real, protective. The kind of hug that says, I should have been here all along. When he let go, he crouched down, opened his arms, and Lily ran straight into them. I'm proud of you, he whispered. Lily giggled, that bright, unbreakable giggle that made the whole room feel warmer. And just like that, the silence shattered. But for the first time in my life, it wasn't cruel. It was freeing. The next morning, the house felt different. Quiet. Not the kind of quiet that hurt, but the kind that let things breathe. I stayed in the guest room that night, not because I had to, but because Ethan had asked. I don't want you to leave just yet, he said. Neither did I. I woke up early, made coffee, sat on the back porch where my dad used to drink his every Sunday morning. The garden was still there, wild, unkept, but somehow still alive. Emma and Lily were curled up on the couch inside, exhausted from the storm they'd caused, sleeping like nothing had happened. And maybe that was the gift of childhood. They told the truth, and then they rested. Like truth was supposed to set you free. A few moments later, I heard the screen door creak. It was my mother. For the first time in years, she looked smaller. Not weak, just real. She sat down across from me, no words, just the two of us. In the kind of silence that didn't feel hostile anymore. I didn't know you felt that way, she finally said. I took a sip of my coffee. You never asked. She nodded, slowly, like every movement hurt a little. I guess I thought you were fine, you never made a fuss. I smiled, small, tired. I handled things because someone had to. We sat there, listening to the birds, the world waking up around us. Then, softly, she said the words I never thought I'd hear. I'm sorry, Haley. I didn't cry. Not this time. But something loosened in my chest. Like a knot I'd been carrying for far too long had finally started to untangle. Later that day, Ethan hugged me before I left. I hope you know how proud I am of you, he whispered. Of Emma, of Lily, of all of you. I believed him. Really believed him. Vanessa. She was gone. But honestly, I wasn't angry anymore. Not at her. Not even at my mother. Because for the first time, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't a burden. I was Haley Morgan. Mother, sister, daughter. And survivor. Weeks passed. Uncle Rehan stopped by with a potted jasmine plant. Something that grows quiet but strong, he said. Just like me. Even my mother called sometimes now. Small steps. But in our family, small was progress. And one night, while I was tucking Emma and Lily into bed, Emma looked up at me, her brown eyes wide. Mama, she whispered. Yes, baby? Are you proud of us? I smiled. More than you'll ever know. Lily giggled beside her. So, we're good luck? I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in what felt like forever. You, I whispered, pulling them both close, are the luckiest things that ever happened to me. And it's true. Because here's what I've learned. Being quiet doesn't mean you're weak. Being kind doesn't mean you have to stay invisible. Sometimes the people who carry the most pain also carry the deepest love. And sometimes the bravest thing you can ever do is teach your children to speak up, even when the world tells them to sit down. Especially then. I wasn't cursed. I wasn't broken. I was never the bad luck. I was the one breaking the cycle. And that was the luckiest thing of all.